Did you know over 60% of first-time clients do not return for a second visit? That is so painful, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Maya comes in. Maya is the ultimate marketing software for the beauty and wellness industry. We have a proprietary funnel utilizing special algorithms to help connect the right consumers with the right providers at your business. This means that Maya helps you get higher spending clients you love to work with who stay the long haul. If you want to increase your revenue, increase your client count, increase your average ticket, and increase your new client retention, then you need Maya. Go to joinmaya.com to set up your own personal virtual tour and see why over 500,000 consumers have trusted Maya and the businesses we work with to find their perfect beauty and wellness pro. We promise you will love Maya.
Thank you for joining me. This is Katie Whitledge with the Beyond the Technique podcast. I'm so excited to be with you today, but I'm more excited for our guest. Lyn Christian is back here for a third time.
Oh man, a third.
You remember Lyn, who joined me episode 232. Today is 645. So really quite close to more at the beginning. It was like my third year in. And we talked about being true, strong, and focused. Lyn came back then for episode 483, where we spoke about Lyn's book. Okay.
There we are.
Today we're talking about soul authority. And perfect timing because you are coming up on a new year where you are thinking about what are the things that you want to lean into to be the best salon owner, spa owner, leader, manager that you can possibly be, and even self-management. So let me just remind you that Lyn is a master certified coach with nearly 3 decades of experience helping individuals and leaders uncover and live from their deeper purpose and strengths. Live from. We're going to get into that. Lyn is the founder of the coaching firm Soul Salt.
Yes.
And their book represents the process they have used in their practice to help people like yourself listening today. So if you are listening, by the way, you can watch today's conversation on our YouTube channel. Go to the link in our show notes. There's going to be lots of goodies in our show notes, including the first 2 podcasts that Lyn and I did together. So without further ado, Lyn, welcome to Beyond the Technique.
Thank you. I just have the chills to talk to your podcast audience because they were one of the very first audiences that I connected with. Way back when Win Claybaugh and Dennis James at the time were opening up the Paul Mitchell schools, I was working at Franklin Covey and brought Dennis in to show them how to do project management to launch that big undertaking. And from there, I connected with Sean and Angie at Lunatic Fringe, the Langs that have Paul Mitchell schools. My daughter was going through an apprenticeship and eventually owned a salon. Vivian McKinder and I are friends. Sam Villa and I are friends. Just so many connections within your world that it's close to my heart to know that you guys find a way to earn a living and live your life by doing what inspires you. And it's a non-conventional path. I'm all about the Mavericks. I must have raised 3 because none of my 3 kids, even though I was a school teacher for a while, went into education, got a degree. They all have certifications. They work in any place from making Netflix movies to massage therapy to owning a salon. Those 3 kids have found a way to earn a living like the people in your industry where you may or may not have a degree. So I just champion the iron brands and the non-conventional learners that are in the population that you serve.
Thank you for saying that. And I remember meeting you at Serious Business in 2019 and feeling like you were so special and inspiring. What I didn't know when I saw you training really hard in the gym is that there was a special thing you were training for. I'll let you share that you didn't start at a young age. You were picking it up at a later age, which defies this kind of, I don't know, limiting belief that you're too old to do certain things. You, at your young, ripe age, do not fall into those traps. You are a maverick in and of itself. I'd love for you to share with everybody listening what that is and why it lights you up as one of the things that you really hone in on, in addition to how you help entrepreneurs and leaders finding their calling.
Right. So let's back up and give the context if it's okay. On page 110 of my book, and you can share that image if you want, that illustration. If you think about, audience, think about this. Last time you saw an atom drawn out, where there are these ovals that play on top of each other, and then there are these little protons that are the dots on the atom. If you look at that diagram, there it is. Most of that area is space. And this is the building block of the human being, our body. And so I'm one of those people who, when the New England Journal of Medicine came out, and they had studied the decades in a person's life, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49 on up, they found, surprisingly, that the most productive decade was 60 to 69, which I'm in currently. The second most productive was 70 to 79, and the third most productive was 50 to 59. But to make those things productive, you have to live well, 20s, 30s, 40s, learn some things, fall, fail, pick yourself up, uh, learn to not take anybody's bullshit, learn to listen to your soul. And then you can have those 3 decades of just unimagined satisfaction, confidence, and fulfillment. So I have lived that several times in my life. And when I was little, I had a dream. So this is what we're going to talk about today are these aspirations. In those spaces, you and I have aspirations. We have dreams. There's so many possibilities of what we can be that we won't be able to live all of them in this life. But if we have a practice, and I call it the practice of possibilities on chapter 7, and it's part of my Soul Authority program where we go into an aspiration list and we try to list 100 of them in 30 days. And I'll take the audience through that exercise. But one of my aspirations as a child was watching my cousin learn to fence for a play he was in. And I was so fascinated. He handed me the weapon and I put it in my hand and I realized this is real. This is not plastic. This is not a prop. And he said, yeah, they fight with these in the Olympics. And I was like, I want to do that someday. Well, I would have had to start, and I was raised in rural Utah, so there was nothing I could do about picking up fencing at that age. But I promised myself later in life I would do it. And as I got approaching 60, I realized I haven't done that yet, and I want to. So I went to classes, and I talk about this in the book. And I'm fencing with this young man, and he pauses me for a moment, and he basically tells me that I'm not watching my distance, and that's why he's beating me. And I humbly say thank you and try to fix my distance. And what you don't know is this young man is 8 years old, and I'm approaching 60. And so for the first couple of years, as I was getting that aspiration, that thing that I always wanted to be that filled up those spaces in my atoms, I was willing to go once a week and just start picking it up and learn the basics with the 8-year-olds. My whole aspiration was because I missed the Olympics. What you might not know is competitively, we can compete 3 times a year in a national event. In July, it culminates in the national championships. They take the top 4 to the Worlds. The Worlds just happened, by the way, this year. And then you get to compete with all those people that you would have seen if you were an Olympic athlete, but at our ages and in our age group, 60 to 69 is my age group. Well, this year I brought home a bronze medal. I made it into the top 3 at that national event. My points accrued were just enough to put me 5th. So I was an alternate. I didn't get to go to the Worlds, but that dream, because I worked on it, but more importantly, because I let my soul be the authority of what was possible. I
Mm.
didn't let the outside world tell me. I was working on the goal of someday standing on a national podium with a medal around my neck and being qualified to be able to be invited to be on the world team. I'm very, very close. We'll see what happens in the next few years and moving forward. That was something, if I can do that at my age, I want to encourage everyone listening that it's never too late to start. The other thing I would say is that a lot of us look really good on paper. I know your audience, these successful entrepreneurs, we can look at the cars we have, we can look at the properties maybe we own or the business that we own. I think it takes a certain amount of courage to do a commission-based, team-based salon because you need to get involved and you have to grow and you have to lead these people. But when was the last time you grew yourself? Like you might look good on paper, but imagine if you could go to an equivalent of what the Navy SEALs go through to become physically fit. What if somebody put you through a program where your character and your personal growth competence gets challenged in that way? And that's what this Soul Authority program is. I took myself through it, just like I did all the exercises in the book. This is how I've lived my life. Started taking clients through it, really formalized this track. Tested it last year. The 5 people who went through are just changing their lives in unimaginable ways, breaking glass ceilings, bringing people with them, becoming better communicators, really getting nitty-picky about what little corners of their life can no longer have that little shadow in it. And they are happier. They're more fluid in their abundance. They are healthier. And that's what we are launching full time in 2026. And I can take 18 people a year. That's the limit I can take. We will have 6 already enrolled by the end of December. So that's an offering for some elite people in your listening audience that might want to see if they could qualify for that.
Well, first off, congratulations
Thank you.
on everything you've accomplished and focused on. And it's because you really evaluated, what do I want? And gosh, we don't ever sit back and ask ourselves that. I watched this YouTube kind of motivational little video, and the number of times that people are searching Google about topics related to finding their purpose is astronomical. I mean, it's in the billions.
It
I'm
is.
curious,
Mhm.
in your experience, why is that? And in what ways do you come alongside and help people really think through it for the first time, maybe ever?
Yeah, so you hit on something really big, Katie. I actually dedicated an entire chapter to it. And I think one of the reasons is there are a number of reasons, but let me give 3 that come to mind that occur very consistently in my client base. One is it takes time to excavate that. You can't just sit down and pick it out of the air. Sometimes we have to do surveys of the people who've seen you in action because sometimes we don't know who we are until it's reflected back by the people who saw us and experienced us doing things. And then we did have this market research where we go, oh, yeah. I mean, that's where I learned that I am here to enliven and enlarge people's vision of who they are and what they can achieve. That was handed back to me on a piece of paper. This is what you do for me, Lyn. And so sometimes we need to dig that way with other people's opinions. Sometimes we just need to track things. Like in my book, we start with values and then we go to what I call unique personal needs. And then we bring up your superpowers, your weaknesses, your pseudo strengths. We look at your beliefs and your philosophies. We look at these aspirations that I just talked about. And purpose can shift. When I started out, it was just because of where I was in my life, and it was a very difficult time and a very dark time, but one that I needed to go through. It was my attempt to come out of the closet the first time, and I did it, but I lost a lot. I lost every friend I ever had. I lost a lot. I didn't lose my kids. I lost my family outside of my children.
Sure.
And what I learned from that was I really wanted at the end of my life to know that I was on purpose if my heart stayed soft and my mind stayed open to all kinds of people and situations and circumstances and to myself. And sometimes we don't have those cathartic moments unless somebody nudges us or knows how to facilitate us through those. Because purpose isn't something you can just dream up and pull out of the air or out of your ass either, you know. Yeah,
Wow. Well, I appreciate that you are speaking from a place of experience. You've done the work yourself.
I have. Katie, I have. Like when you met me, I was in a 14-year relationship. And because I apply everything I'm learning, even my fencing teaches me more mental things and spiritual things. I looked at my life and went, this can't go on for the rest of my life. I walked away from someone that my kids thought I would be with for the rest of my life, I thought I would be with. And I spent a couple of years going through all the shadows and all the reasons why I may have picked somebody that I couldn't have a happy life with. And I did the work on that one. And whenever I find something that I need to throw the bullshit flag on, I find somebody to support me to do that. And I think that's been my success through life is looking at myself. And yeah, there are seasons where you're on sabbatical leave and you're like, okay, I need a breather. But most of the time, it's how do I keep growing and evolving? And so I'm a product of my product. I'm not everybody's favorite because of that. And yet, that's who I'm looking for, the people who are earnest and want to be so trustworthy to themselves first and then to the world that there's this piece of radical honesty that they're willing to look at until they clean out those corners and they love being themselves again.
Mm, yeah. And everyone deserves that.
Don't they? I mean, you've given that to yourself. You and I have watched each other evolve, and your evolution, you just become more true to yourself every year.
Thank you. It feels good.
Yeah.
Just like you mentioned having somebody come alongside you, I feel like I've surrounded myself with advisors and coaches and mentors to come alongside me, people I can really trust. I'm curious if your program is set up like group style or individual, and then what type of like commitment for time and just the learning aspect, like what does that look like?
Right. So you jump in and it takes a year. Sometimes it takes 14 months. So it's a little bit longer depending upon your pacing. The most it's taken is 15 months because we want to take a December and a July off for them. They wanted a sabbatical. And we meet twice a month in hour-long sessions. And then we stay in touch with each other. So I'm always on retainer for these clients. Monday through Thursday, it's unlimited email. We work off of Marco Polo. So it's a relationship. And we negotiate what we're working for. There's a menu of things, you bring in things, and then we narrow down what are the objectives. We break it down into quarters of the year. What will we tackle the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter? How are we doing? We may do assessments to see how we're doing, so we don't just take it on anecdotal notes from you and myself. We may reach into your network and see how they see your evolution. So it's a life-changing experience. I would say each week there's probably 1 to 2 hours that you dedicate. And if you think about the time you spend in a gym or the time you spend meal prepping or other things that you do to have the life that you want, that's pretty acceptable. Most of the exercises are woven into your life. For instance, if we give an exercise right now to your audience, I'm going to take it from this aspiration chapter. And I would just say, answer 3 questions. And what you can do is just weave this into your life. You don't have to sit down and do it all at once. It's going to be more effective if you start a piece of paper, a journal page, or a document, or put it on your tablet and ask the first question, if I could wish for the impossible, what would I want? And then write down what comes top of mind and keep coming back to it. You don't have to fill it out. You could just be doing the laundry or talking to a client and an idea pops up. Write it down. Number 2, what adventures and activities intrigue me? When have you been intrigued by something? Write a couple of things down and then wait for more to come. And the third one is if I had all the time and resources I needed and I knew I would not fail, what would I want to make happen? Write that one down. Again, brainstorm a few things. And so throughout the week, if you keep this in front of you, you can keep adding to it. And over 30 days, I would love to see if you could come up with 100 things. Because from that 100, I guarantee there are 5 to 10 that are like golden for you. And what happens when we fill up these spaces that we started talking about with the atoms and me starting fencing at a very ripe age, what happens is we have these benefits of we can increase our longevity, our happiness. We experience more positive emotions. I'm just pulling this right from the research in my book. We replace fear with confidence. We move anxiety out of the way and we have more hope. And we give sadness a boot and make room for actually long-term joy and contentment. Those are proven things that happen. And the reason is, Katie, because you know I'm a student of neuroscience and flow and best self psychology. We put ourselves in our prefrontal cortex, our most executive brain when we're doing these aspirations. It drops into the heart brain that I talk about in my TEDx talk, where we have 40,000 neurites. Our heart has intelligence. It's a functional brain. It's talking to us, and it really talks to people in our industry that we're visiting with today. And then also the gut brain starts the back of your throat, goes all the way your back door. But many of you sit there with people in front of your solar plexus, in front of your gut brain, and you're feeling them all day. And you also feel your own insights, your own courage telling you do something or not do something. You feel deep identity in that gut brain. That's 500 million neurons. The head brain has 86 billion. So you have these three brains talking to you all day. And what this work is and what we're seeking for in this program is that you fully become intelligent. And when you do your aspirations, you get in touch with those parts of you almost instantly. And that's why Einstein really encouraged us to daydream, because then we're getting into these aspirations. Then we start to see where opportunity is for us, no matter our age. I mean, hell, if I started fencing really seriously in my 60s, and it's a 10-year learning curve, and I'm starting to reach some of my goals after 5 years, and I had to take a year off for COVID and 18 months for a torn rotator cuff. So I've really only had 3 really good competitive years.
Yeah.
I work hard at it. People can do anything. If I can change my relationship status and actually find the love of my life at age 65, uh, who can't do stuff that really changes your life? I'm just living proof that age is a number and the way you live your life can be more true and strong and focused.
It's so inspiring. In your book, you talk about that it's not about what you do, it's about who you become and becoming the real you.
Yeah, and I think we're both examples of that. When you say, I mean, you think when we're raised, we are raised by age 8. Most of our beliefs and philosophies are formed by our churches, our communities, our parents, our teachers, a lot of times very well-meaning individuals. Very often, though, they didn't stop and say, how do you want to co-create your belief system or your philosophies? And so we spend the rest of our lives trying to find ourselves,
Mm.
coming back to ourselves and really asking ourselves, well, what do I think? And that's why the head, heart, and gut wisdom, why I went to Australia and learned they were ahead of us in this neuroscience of how do you listen to your heart? How do you follow your gut? How do you hear your intelligence and put them together? Because a lot of us really haven't learned to navigate from the soul outward. We've learned to navigate from the outward inward. And we had to do that to survive as kids. I mean, we needed somebody to teach us don't step in the road when a car's coming. Now we have more authority. So, yeah, it's about being, how you feel in your skin now compared to years ago. And the same
Yeah.
with me, right? We want that feeling for everybody we come in contact with because it's like you have tiger's blood and you have the spirit and you have your soul leading and you have your truth leading. And that kind of integrity, you can't buy. You have to grow it inside out.
I once heard a mindset coach say you should consistently learn yourself. So is this an ongoing process? Like after 14, 15 months, you're done? No, the work continues. And I would
Yes,
just love to hear just examples of people that you've worked with and some of those just outcomes to just get everybody excited because I'm excited and just
you're
thinking
excited. Yeah.
possibilities. Yeah.
So once you do this book or you do the work with me, I encourage people every 16 to 18, sometimes 24 months, go back and revise because you evolve. You can't see things that are going to be opportunities for you now until you evolve to that status. So yes, we're always evolving. And so we have the right to go back and say, okay, new map, look at the salt of my soul. And so don't be discouraged. Think about this as a process. When people go through my program, for instance, one individual was told by her doctor that if she didn't change something, she would get something like MS, or she would get diabetes or something. And she said, Lyn, I'm a director of IET. When have I stopped? And I have a child with special needs, a neurodiverse child. When do I stop and take care of me? Now. I'm going to hire you, and that's our job. She's getting her health back. She's starting to move again. She's starting to feel more comfortable. We're looking at the hormonal levels. I'm not a doctor, but we bring on that support team. We have another individual who said, Lyn, here's what's happened. I found myself on the top of Mount Everest in my industry. I didn't have the right coat or the right boots, but working together, I found myself at the top. She is now, she was the she was the working CFO for just about 2 weeks, and they hired her as the full-time CFO. But she'd worked her way up there and said, how did I get here? Because the top guy left. She's one of the first female CFOs in this industry. It's a banking industry. And so she's breaking that glass ceiling, and she's learning how to grow people. So those are two examples, and very different. One who's finally getting the support to talk about and work with her health, and the other one who's breaking all kinds of barriers.
That is
Yeah.
so
And then we have two. We have one that's a best-selling author, and she needs to get her next book out. She's a world-known scientist, and she's having a hard time staying focused on getting her next book. We have an entrepreneur who is trying to get her first book out. So those are some of the people that are in this group that are like, I want to play bigger. I have something inside of me that's bigger. Let's find out what it is, and then let's show the world how I lead my life that way. So that's where we're going.
I love it. Well, for everybody listening, if you are ready to go bigger, if you're ready to commit to your personal growth, to have these breakthrough moments, now is the time. And we have the links in our show notes for you to connect with Lyn, previous episodes we've done together, Lyn's book, and the Soul Authority program. Lyn, before we're done, what would be some final words of encouragement for our listeners today?
Well, the biggest thing I can say is that if you look at the world and you know it needs support, you know some things need to change, you know you want us to all live in harmony and have a better life for our children coming up, don't don't undermine the thought that it starts with you. If you don't change, the world doesn't change.
Yep.
And we need everyone to dig deep right now and bring out our best selves. I have hope for humanity. We can do it. We got to do it one person at a time. And that starts with self. And that's not normal to hear, but I'm going to say that's what it is. Start with self.
You are so inspiring, and I really value your time. For people who are not in the loop behind the scenes, we had some tech challenges today, and you're just so kind and gracious and patient. And it's just, you have an awesome character. And I just want to thank you for being with me again, Lyn. And thank you just for sharing your wisdom with everybody here today.
Thank you for the podium that you've given us today. And yes, thank you for seeing. If you weren't walking your authentic path, you couldn't see what you just saw in me. So thank you for seeing that.
Aw, thank you. Well, and thank you all for joining us here week
Yes.
after week at Beyond the Technique. If you love this platform, please take a moment, leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening so that more people like yourself will discover Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business. Until next time, have an awesome day.
Take care.
Stay strong.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to stop recording.